Hi, folks. This is Rick Doc Walker, the DOC.
This is John Kime, and you're listening to the Mess Hall with Rally Captain and Tailgate Ted.
What's going on, Rally? How was your Super Bowl weekend, man?
Hey, man, it was a great weekend. You may wonder why I'm wearing these shades. You know, I'm inside, but I got to tell you, the gods are smiling upon us and putting a huge bright light on us. And with our hires that we've had, and especially the one that we just acquired a couple of hours ago, our future is bright. Let's get it, bro.
Okay.
It is exciting, man. And there's a lot of moves being made right now. I got high hopes for this coaching staff and everything going on. But before we jump into that, how was your Super Bowl? Did you go out anywhere? You make any plans? You have any people over?
No, sir. I stayed at La Casa and I had me some cervezas and I just chilled out and was pleasantly surprised that the game went into overtime, and it was a great back and forth game. And I told everyone, yes, I would like to see San Francisco win, but you just can't go against the champs until someone dethrones them, and that still has not happened yet. So if they're in it next year, I will be going for the Chiefs yet again. Unless
Go ahead.
Unless
All right.
our commanders are playing. And then of course
Hey.
it's all bets off, baby.
Commanders versus Chiefs Super Bowl. Are you trying to say that's what's going to happen now, or?
I'm just saying, if it was Commanders versus Chiefs, I'm going with Commanders, and screw what I said a few seconds ago.
So right now, looking at the odds for next year's Super Bowl, the 49ers are favorites at plus 500. The Chiefs are second at plus 650. Guess where the Commanders are on that list?
Oh, we're at the bottom of the barrel. I already know that. I mean, probably like 100,000, some craziness.
So we're not last. The Panthers are last at plus 25,000. The Giants are second to last at 15,000. We are fifth to last at plus 15,000. Actually, we're tied with the Giants, the Patriots, and the Titans. So get your money in now, man. You put down $1, you get to walk away with 15K. I will take that.
I'll do that
day long. Oh, hell yeah.
I'll do that. I'll put $1 down. Why not?
You put any dollars down on the Super Bowl?
Unfortunately, I did, and I didn't go with the Chiefs winning. I didn't make that bet. The bet that I did was an anytime touchdown score, which was I said Rashee Rice, he's due. He's due. And he was not. So,
yeah, he was due for nothing at that point.
Yeah.
I took him too, man. So I put in 5 bets. Right, Mrs. Tailgate's out of town. I drove her to the airport. She could have had her Uber paid for the airport, but I volunteered to drive her to the airport because I wanted to go to Virginia. Oh, I also wanted to say goodbye to my wife, but I wanted to go to Virginia and put a bet in at the airport because I live downtown.
Sure? Are you
I can't
sure
put a
about
bet
that?
in at my house. So, I drove to Virginia Sunday morning to go put a bet in at that point. And I'm in the, pick up and drop off lane at the airport. And I got a cop walking up behind me at that point to like tap on the window and say, hey, move. You're not picking anybody up or dropping anybody off. I wanted to tell the cop I got to place a bet right now. I don't know how that would have went, but I just screwed up a little bit and he let me go.
What airport were you at?
I was at DCA. So out at Reagan.
So Reagan still pings Virginia Towers or obviously
Reagan's Virginia.
because I mean, I know that it's Virginia, but a lot of times, sometimes some towers collect DC footage or DC vibes, if you will. So bandwidth. So I was just wondering, because it wouldn't allow you to do it if you're in DC. So, but okay, that's cool.
Yeah, luckily it worked out, and I put in a couple of parlays, and I put one just outright on the Chiefs to win, just straight up. That one hit.
Yeah.
I put one on the Chiefs to win, and the Chiefs to win, and then they were getting points, and I put one on the under. The under was 46.5. The final score was 47. So lost that one. That one would have been nice. Drove me
Mm-hmm.
insane. Like, we're going to overtime. If Kansas City scores first and gets a touchdown, then we're done. I forgot the Super Bowl rules that they had changed them. And
Really?
apparently, yeah, apparently a bunch of the 49ers players didn't know the rules of the Super Bowl. Were you shocked once they explained it that the 49ers decided to take the ball to start off?
Well, I'm not gonna say that at this point in time, I have to say that I was a little inebriated, and I can't say that I was shocked or not in shock. I was just enjoying the game, bro.
Just
So,
having a good time. Watching the Dunkin' Donuts commercials with Ben Affleck and Tom Brady.
yeah, yeah, man. I mean, I was having a good time in my own little world. The basement is hooked, so I was down there just enjoying it, man. Just saying, wow, I can't believe that this game is going in overtime. Now, after I sobered up a little bit the next day, I did say interesting because there's no sudden death anymore. The first team who scores a field goal wins. I remember back in the day, that's how it used to be.
Yeah, just any
you get kicked.
points. Yeah.
Yep, any points. You get in the field goal range, and then bam, you won the game, or you made the field goal, obviously, and you win the game. Well, they said, nah, you know what? We don't want that. That's so many people complaining, and for the longest time, I was one who complained and said, I think the other team is getting robbed. If you're going to let the flip of a coin dictate who's in or who's out or who wins. So no, and I'm glad they went to the college-esque type of rules.
So in the playoffs, the first team that scored a touchdown ended up winning at that point with the new rules. But now the team that scored, the other team just gets a chance to rebut. So it was very interesting to me how they did that. And
Mm-hmm.
I, like you, definitely had a couple of pops and was enjoying it because this was, believe it or not, this was the first time I've ever been invited to a Super Bowl party. Like, much
Huh?
like my whole barbecue problem, no one invites me to their parties, man. I don't know if it's because my voice scares people off or what the hell it's about, but I've never been invited to Memorial Day or Labor Day because everyone worries about me judging their food. And it's the same thing with the Super Bowl. Nobody wants me to come over because I think they're worried I'm going to critique their food or post a picture about it. And I've said before in the past shows, I'm going to critique you, but not to your face. I'll just say something to the missus about it or something, but I'm not going to, blast you on social media. I just appreciate being invited. And this was the first time I actually got to go to one. And it was actually a lot of fun, man. I can see why people do this stuff every year.
Well, gee, bro, I never knew that. I mean, now back in the day, I used to host not tailgate parties, but I used to host Super Bowl parties, and then it just got to be a little too much, and so I just said, you know what, like you, if I get invited, I may go, depending on how far it is from my house, because you know where I live, man. I'm
Oh, yeah.
I'm way out, so I'd have to almost get a hotel room or ask to shack up with the person's wife or girlfriend or whoever. And I don't think that would go over too well. So I kind of just said I'll just stay at my place and be able to have my own little cocktails and party.
I don't blame him. I mean, it's also a school night. So we were driving back into DC and it's midnight. And you would have thought it was rush hour, right?
I
We're
can believe
going
that.
around 295 down by Nats Park, and it was just packed full of people all coming home from the game. And I'm willing to bet a majority of those people definitely had a couple of pops in them too. And luckily I had a ride, so I had a DD. I didn't have to worry about it. But it
Nice.
was a good time, man. I enjoyed it. Still got some leftovers here. And I'm hoping, I'm thinking that 3 to 5 years we get a chance to potentially compete for it.
Hmm.
And I'm glad that the Chiefs won my pick because I did not want Chase to win a ring. Don't have to worry about it now because he ain't going to be on San Francisco next year when they're favored. Who knows? Maybe he'll go to Kansas City. But glad to see that happen. I was bummed for Trent Williams. He had a couple of penalties back to back and just kind of bit him. And
Yeah.
they just didn't have the best game. But happy that the season's over because now we can just focus on us and got to worry about any
Exactly.
other teams. We're the only ones that matter at this point. And they're making a ton of moves over there in Ashburn, man. Have you been keeping up with all the new coaching hires and GM hires and everything else?
You know what, man? I've been trying to, but it's just been rapid fire. And
Yeah.
when it happens, I try to put a little nugget in my mind to say, okay, go back and research this guy. But I just haven't had the time. And as
Yeah.
well as I know that that they sound good. I mean, they all seem to have plenty experience. My biggest thing, and this is something that now I don't have to worry about the experience side. Now I have to worry about, okay, the list goes from who we going to keep, who we going to let go, who are they going to
Yeah.
bring in. I mean, there's so many thoughts now that are running through my head, and I got to tell you, man, that I'm really thinking that some guys realistically have played their last game with us, man. Last year was their last game. I really
Yeah.
believe that, or for a lot of guys. I mean, you keep hearing about how, and I know a lot of people aren't gonna like this, but you keep hearing how the Dallas players were enamored with the coach and with Dan, and it looks like they could be coming this way. So for everybody that said, "Hey, I don't like the staff because they're Dallas staff and this, that, and the third," well, they're commanders now. And what normally happens is those guys bring who people who they trust and who they feel are going to be great bargains underneath them. And
Yeah.
so, guys, don't be surprised if there's some blue and silver turning burgundy and gold.
Yeah, we actually got denied by the Cowboys to interview a couple of their coaches. So their
Mm-hmm.
DB coach, Al Harris, the Commanders requested to interview him for a lateral position, and tight ends coach Lunda Wells. And I'm sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation of these people's names, but Dallas said, no, we're not letting you take our coaches from us. And apparently that's just
Mm-hmm.
what Jerry Jones does. I mean, the team could give them a promotion and offer them a job here, but they have brought on a bunch of new pieces. So, from a front office perspective, they got a guy by the name of Lance Newmark. He is the assistant GM. He was the senior director of player personnel with the Lions. We all know what the Lions are, what they built over there. So, we're taking people away from a bunch of the top tier teams in the NFL and bringing them over here. Martin Mayhew is moving to senior personnel exec, and Marty Herney is just in an advisory role. And I think a lot of that is just because the draft is just a couple of months away. Still
Mm-hmm.
need inner circle tickets. But the draft is just a couple of weeks away, a couple of months away. So I don't think they're going to fire those guys. And the fact that Herney was given an advisory role, I almost feel like, hey, Marty, we'll keep you on just so you keep your health insurance type of thing. You know, I'm not even sure if that's a real title, but hey, let's just throw him a bone. The guy's old. They know him. So it is what it is. In regards to coaches that are sticking around, Tavita Pritchard staying. He's our QB coach.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be interesting to see what he says to the new OC Cliff Kingsbury about Sam Howell, obviously because he worked with him all last year and he was on the staff prior. Kerrigan sticking around as a pass rush specialist. I was happy about this just because Ryan, I was worried he was going to get thrown out when Rivera lost a job. And I think
Mm-hmm.
Ryan's a good coach and he's got a lot to offer. And obviously, he knows how to pass rush. He's got the record here with us. And happy to see that him and his family don't have to uproot and move. And then they're keeping Bobby Ingram as a wide receivers coach. So those are the three coaches that are being kept here. And we talked about it last week. Bieniemy was let go, and no one has reached out to bring him on their staff. And surprisingly, he actually gave a pep talk to the Chiefs before the Super Bowl. So I was kind of surprised hearing when the Junkies said that on their show the other day, considering he hadn't been there all year. And I'm not sure if I take a pep talk from a guy that just was on a 4-13 team, but hey, it is what it is.
No, man. You see, I think that players, we as fans look at it that way, but players who you've gotten down and dirty with and rubbed elbows with, they know the heart of the guy, and so I can appreciate that. I fans, we look at it as, oh, well, why would I look at it that way with this guy? You went to a losing team, yeah, but you were with us. You were our brother, and you know that those circles, bro, are very tight. And once you're in that circle, like the inner circle, once you're in that circle, it's very hard to get thrown out of it, even if you do go to another team. Because how many times have we seen guys who have gone to another team, but who play the other team, you're only upset with them for that 3.5 hours. After that, those guys are drinking buddies again.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so I look at it as, hey, obviously it worked some shape, form, or fashion. So it could
Yeah.
also be it could also be something where he's trying to, hey, rub elbows back again and say, I'm available. Let's run this thing back with me again. So we'll see.
So he's still getting paid by the team. I
Yeah.
think if he were to go to another team at that point, he wouldn't get his money for next year. I don't know if that's a fact, but I thought that's what I heard someplace. So it doesn't make sense for him to go someplace else and take a pay cut because he actually got a pay increase to come here to be the assistant head coach. So, and I was wrong. He actually went to talk to them before the Ravens game, and Andy Reid talked about it. And Patrick Mahomes said it brought energy and chill bumps that gave Kansas City the necessary push to beat the Ravens at M&T Bank. So
Mm-hmm.
I just wish he would have gave that to our guys more than 4 times this year. But that's over and done with.
Dang! Shots
4 times,
fired.
man.
I mean,
4 times. All right. It's
I mean,
just
I mean, bang, 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 bang.
I can remember a couple of shows talking about in the offseason because we didn't get any big name free agents. We said, oh, well, our big name free agent's Eric Bieniemy. We don't need any players. Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, we both ate. We both ate a lot of crow last season, man, and that's how the ball bounces. And I'm hoping that I don't eat as much this season. But you know me, I'm always optimistic, and I am hoping for the best. And truthfully, getting back on a serious note, the people that they have selected to run the team, to help teach these guys coming on board, it's a great squad, and I really am looking forward to seeing who they bring in and how they build the roster.
It is. And one thing about Dan Quinn that people rave about is he's liked by a ton of people, just players and coaches. And his staff, everyone talks about the 2013 Redskins at that point and all the people that we had on our staff. I'm sick and tired of seeing that damn graphic of all of these coaches. I mean, we were a 3-13 team. Those guys weren't keeping their jobs. Yeah, LaFleur was here, Shanahan was here, all these people were here, but they weren't getting a job at that point. The team was horrible. But Dan Quinn with the Falcons, he had, let's see here, Kyle Shanahan as his OC. He had Raheem Morris, who's now the head coach of the Falcons, right? He had Matt LaFleur as his quarterback coach, right? He had Mike LaFleur over there as his offensive assistant, Mike McDaniel with the Dolphins as an offensive assistant. I mean, he had a bunch of people on that staff, and he's doing the exact same thing here. And during his press conference, he basically said he needed to do better delegating and not taking on too much. Well,
Mm-hmm.
he's doing just that. He's bringing in former head coaches. He's bringing in former offensive coordinators. I mean, we've got Kingsbury here. Obviously, he's our OC. We talked about that last week. If you guys missed that pod, make sure you go back, check it out. But as a special teams coordinator, we got Larry Izzo. The guy was born in Fort Belvoir, and he was with the Patriots for 3 Super Bowls. So thinking this guy's got some experience and knows what the hell he's talking about. Won 3 rings with freaking Belichick. For a special defensive assistant, we got John Pagano. He's the brother of Colts head coach Chuck Pagano. He's been a coach in the NFL for 26 years. He was a D coordinator for the Chargers from 2012 to 2016. And during that run, they were top 10 in yards and 5th most defensive touchdowns a couple of times. And he's just a defensive assistant, right? I'm not even talking like a main coach. They've got tight end coach David Ra. No idea who the hell that guy is. Not even going to pretend. But they brought in Brian Johnson, the former Eagles offensive coordinator, right? So we're ripping guys from them. This is a guy who I'm sure you'll recognize. Linebacker coach Ken Norton Jr., former Dallas Cowboy player, right? He was a linebacker coach for the Legion of Boom, and he was a defensive coordinator for the Raiders. So just talking about experience, I mean, linebacker is a massive hole and has been a massive hole here since London Fletcher. And I'm hoping Ken Norton can maybe light a fire under Jamin Davis or something, and we bring in someone else here, who knows, a free agent or something, because our linebackers is basically a waste of space on that field. And Ken Norton Jr., man, I remember watching him play against us, and I freaking hated it.
Yeah.
So they're
Well,
bringing in, go ahead.
I was gonna say we keep talking about Jamin Davis. I don't see him playing linebacker next year. I see them changing his position to something else. That's just me personally. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that they're gonna probably bring in someone else, some other people for linebacker.
Well, he's still in a contract. So if anything, they don't exercise his 5th year option, and he's a free agent next year. But I feel he's too undersized. He's 6'3", 234. Right. So what is Micah Parsons' size? See if I can pull that up.
Roughly the same.
Micah Parsons is 6'3", 245. Yeah, I mean, they're roughly the same. I feel that he's too undersized at defensive end, but maybe that's what he needs to be. Maybe it's put his hand in the ground and have him just go after the quarterback, because he's not able to play. But Parsons primarily is a linebacker for him, but he does rush, and maybe that's what they need to do with Jamin. But I don't know. I'm excited that he's going to get to learn from a guy that's done it before. This guy was a linebacker coach for the Legion of Boom. I mean, you got a nickname, Legion of Boom. You know you got a good defense. You listen to the show, you know who they are.
So you think possibly technique over inexperience? Is that you're saying that Ken Norton possibly can come up and train up Jamin Davis to become that linebacker that we all want him to become?
Yeah, I definitely think so.
Okay.
I mean, he's had a chance to do that in his career with better talent. We have had bad coaches here. You know, I'm just not talking about Ron Rivera. You know, previous regimes, they've just been bad coaches, right? Jay Gruden didn't want to bring in a good defensive coordinator because he was worried they were going to take his job, right? And you're not seeing Dan Quinn do that. We lost Randy Jordan because his contract was up, and now Randy's going to Tennessee and working over there. I mean, we've let talent walk out the door, but now we're bringing talent in that have done this before. They've got Jason Simmons, a defensive passing game coordinator, a guy that played for the Redskins, Daryl Tapp. He's going to be the defensive line coach, and he was the assistant defensive line coach for the 49ers the past 3 seasons. So he's worked with Bosa. He's worked with all those guys and knows what it takes to build a good defensive line. So maybe he can get more out of the guys that we've got on that line right now, because he did over there. And Chase actually had, you know, couldn't hurt me to say this, he had a decent first half in the Super Bowl. And it almost looked like he was rushing with integrity and not being selfish for a change.
Yeah, it really did. And that's one thing that I will be able to agree with you on that. I said, wow, is this the new Chase? And I mean, I think he even recorded a sack.
Yeah, he had a sack, and he had well, granted, I think it was a BS call, but it was an intentional grounding. The ball, he was outside the pocket, and it got back to the line of scrimmage. That was a BS call, but technically, you would give Chase 2 sacks for that. Second half, he disappeared. But, you know, that's Chase. But this guy is the architect of that 49ers defensive line. I mean, we got the assistant defensive line coach and the quality control coach from the Cowboys, Sharif Floyd. They're bringing in a ton of talent. They're bringing in a ton of guys that have done this before. And I'm excited. I have high hopes because these are guys that are established in the league, not guys that were coaching high school football, you know, a year prior.
Agreed. And you know, one thing that I'm sure what they're doing right now is once the ink has dried on the paperwork, they are reviewing film of all of last year's games and saying, nope, maybe, nope. Okay, we'll see what we can work with. And we're going to have great talent evaluators. And that's what I want. Great talent evaluators, as well as great guys who know what they're looking for in the college game. So
Yeah.
you know what you know what you have in the pro game, and you know what they need to do and what they didn't do. And as far as in the college game coming up, hey, this guy looks to be very coachable in this new system because we don't know what system they're going to run yet, do we?
They haven't come out and said it,
Yeah.
and we're recording. It's Wednesday, the 14th. Kingsbury and Witt are set to have a press conference tomorrow at Commanders Park.
Can't
So
wait.
we're not going to have any clips for that, but we'll have them for next week. And we'll
Hmm.
go through and, play that for you guys. We like cutting up the clips and kind of being your cliff notes for all these press conferences because that Dan Quinn press conference was over an hour. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of our listeners probably did not stick around for the entire thing, but let us help you guys kind of weed through some of the BS and find out some of the important stuff. And it is exciting. I am curious to see what type of offense are they going to do. Is it going to be a Kingsbury, air raid offense? Is it going to be an offshoot of that because he's bringing in former offensive coordinators from other teams? Who knows what's going to happen because Dan Quinn's not calling the defensive plays. It's going to be Witt's job. So I am happy that all of this is happening. And coming up with a rundown for the show, there's no scandals, right? It's all just football right now. So we
Yeah.
don't have as much to kind of come at you guys with, but that's also a damn good problem to have. And we also want to hear from you guys based
Hmm.
upon that with different stuff, because we've got people that have reached out and said, hey, what Commanders free agents do you think we should keep? And what I wanted to do was go down the list. We've got 26 unrestricted free agents coming up next season, right? And this list is just based on their market value, their AAV for next year. So I'll go down, give the names. You say, keep them, kick them with a curb,
Oh
just
boy.
based upon how
Here we
they did
go.
last year.
Here we go. Look, guys, don't hate me for this, all right? Don't hate me for this, but we got to do what we got to do.
All right. So Curtis Samuel, keep him, kick him with a curb.
God dang it. Well, see, I wish I knew what uh Kingsbury's offense was better to be able to say that, but just off the top, I'm going to say that we're going to let him go.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that he's going to be looking for a $12 million or so contract. I just did not see a ton from him. I also feel that he's got the same skill set as Jahan Dotson and Terry to a degree. He doesn't have the size of a Debo to be doing some of those runs out the backfield and everything else. I just don't see him fitting. But once again, who knows if
Yeah.
Kingsbury is going to see it the same, and if Adam Peters feels the same way. Because really, now that Peters is here and the staff is formed, he's got his assistant GM. Next step, in my mind, is obviously you got to prepare for the draft, and all of that groundwork has kind of been laid out by the previous regime and their scouting. But what are you doing with our free agents? Who's sticking around? Kendall
Hmm.
Fuller. Keep him, kick him with a curb.
I'm going to say that they will probably keep him.
So it'll be interesting to see. A lot of people are saying that Fuller may not be here because he doesn't fit the Dan Quinn style of defense, the way he runs the system. So it's almost like a Williamson III square peg round hole. But
Mm.
a player like that, you hope maybe they can adjust the system. I mean, we always talk about Coach Gibbs. He adjusted his system to fit his players. He didn't have it, so his players had to fit a system. So we'll see. Or can Kendall get more money on the open market? I don't think he had the best year here. I mean, just going by Pro Football Focus, Kendall Fuller, just grade wise, let's see what they gave him.
Not only that, I mean, Kendall's getting kind of long in the tooth. So, and the money that they want to pay him, they may be able to find someone who's younger and faster.
Yeah.
I mean, we when it comes down to the NFL, you know that once you put those years in, they're looking to get rid of you if you slow down a step. So I think that he may have slowed down a little bit. I mean, but his experience makes up for it. But I think he may have slowed down a little bit to where they may be looking at trying to let him go.
Yeah, he's a 7-year vet. So they gave him an 83.1 this year. The year prior, he had a 76.6. defensive grade. So the best year he had was in 2017. He got a 90.6, and he took that all the way to Kansas City and
Hmm.
won a Super Bowl with them. So it'll be interesting to see if they decide to stick around and just have him stay here just because he may not fit the system. But a player of his talent, it's not easy to find another corner. So moving on, we got Jacoby Brissett, Phantom Hammy. Jacoby's a free agent. He was getting $8 million this year. You think he's going to stick around? Because I'm not too sure.
I don't think that he's going to stick around.
You think they're going to try and offer him a deal, or you think he's just going to say, go to the highest bidder and bounce?
I think that depending on what happens in this quarterback room for this draft, that's going to dictate what they do with him.
Yeah. I mean, they've got to have, if they do take a rookie quarterback, we got to have a vet. We can't just have Sam Howell, who's wet behind the ears, and another one of these rookies coming in here that has no idea what the hell they're doing. So it'll be just intriguing to me to see what they do. And is it going to be a Jacoby? A lot of people's like, oh, Kirk Cousins is a free agent. Kirk ain't coming here. That's not
No,
happening.
we'll see. The thing is, Ted, once again, I am not very familiar with this Kingsbury, what his offensive scheme is.
Yeah.
So if by chance Brissett or Brisket, as you like to call him, if Brisket runs a better Kingsbury offense, then they'll keep him. But if he doesn't fit that mold, then be prepared to be someone to be brought in who does fit that system and possibly who has worked with him already. We know these guys are very, very superstitious when it comes down to their programs and what they do and don't do. So don't be surprised if they same way that these coaches are reaching back for these players, that he reaches back for someone who he feels can run his system as a backup if needed be.
So you know who ran Cliff Kingsbury's air raid offense in college?
That was
Sam
Kyler
Howell.
Murray. So okay, Kyler Murray, but he brought Kyler
Yeah.
Murray in to Arizona. But
Yeah.
yes, Sam Howell did. So okay, so that goes back to what I'm saying. Brisket may not Brissett may not be the guy. He may not be.
Yeah. I don't know if he will be here, but I do think that they need to sign a veteran. And there are a
Hmm.
lot of veteran quarterbacks out there. I mean, you got your Ryan Tannehill, you got your Brisket, you got Tyrod, you got Sam Darnold, Jameis Winston. I mean, none of these guys are attractive to me. Joshua Dobbs, Mason
Yeah.
Rudolph. I
Mm-mm.
mean, I don't want any of them. I definitely don't want Justin Fields here, but we need some kind of vet inside there. And they always have 4 quarterbacks during training camp. They just don't have enough QBs to throw the ball to all the different receivers everyone else I got out there, so they need them. But we'll put a pin in that. I'm curious to see what happens. Cody
Hmm.
Barton, you keeping
Gone.
Cody or you
Gone.
helping him pack?
Gone. I'm
I'm
helping
right
him
there with
pack.
you.
Yeah, I'm helping
Yeah,
him pack.
I got some
Don't
Costco
don't
boxes I can let
don't
Cody
take
use.
it personal. Don't take it personal, Cody. All right. Don't take it personal, bro. All right.
Yeah. We got 26 free agents. I don't want to go down every single one of these because there's a lot, but you got Tyler Larson here, our center. So he was our backup center this year.
He actually did pretty good. So I'd say keep.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, he doesn't have a huge cap number. We're talking 1.3 mil AAV was contract. So I wouldn't mind keeping him.
Hmm.
David Mayo.
Mayo, I don't believe he's going to be here. I don't see him being the type of linebacker that Norton wants. I mean,
You mean soft?
I just don't see him. I don't see him being that guy. So they may keep him special teams or something, but no,
Yeah, at a certain
gone.
point, we just need bodies. But if it's me, you're keeping him on the damn cheap because I don't think he's worth it. But someone a lot of people are curious about who's 25 years old, AG. You keeping Antonio Gibson, knowing you've got
Mm.
Chris Rodriguez and Brian Robinson Jr., and AG would be coming up on a second contract.
Oh gosh, that means he's going to ask for a lot of money, which I mean, it's the NFL, deservedly so. I don't see them keeping him.
running backs don't get a ton of money anymore, I feel, on their second contracts, just because there's that whole stigma of they've got too much wear on their tires. But
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't even really a running back here, right? I mean, B-Rob's our primary back. AG, wide receiver / running back that was really a wide receiver to start off with. I don't know if we spend the money to try and keep him here if someone can give him a
Yeah.
better deal. Because I mean, Rodriguez did well when he got in. He just got knocked out that Jets game when we were out there, and unfortunately, it just didn't pan out well for him. So I'm
Well,
good with him leaving.
once again, those guys are looking at the tape and they're going to figure out who they want, who they want to be married to. And sometimes these second relationships just don't work. So they'd rather go out and get their own person and who will go down the ship with them instead of being forced to be with.
Yeah, and they also didn't draft him.
Mm-hmm.
So they have no ties to him. I mean, he had a 66.6 PFF grade this past year. The year prior, he had a 76.3. So it's a new offense. We all know that BME didn't want to run the ball for whatever reason, even though he was a running back. But, you know, it is what it is. But I don't see him sticking around. But we've also got Joey Sly. Joey's an unrestricted free agent. You're keeping Joey here, you kick him to the curb.
Let's just say that there will be a healthy kicking competition.
I'm right there with you, man. We got to have a competition for that guy because he was too inconsistent for me. He stressed me out. I mean, the guy could kick my ass all day, every day, but I need him to kick a ball through the freaking uprights. And I don't want to have to take a deep breath and say a prayer every time he's lining up.
Yeah, he was definitely a buff dude. I should say was. He definitely is a buff dude. Speaking of the past, he is a buff dude. And like you said, don't in an alleyway. Look out! I might have to try to shoot the kid myself. I would be, I wouldn't be able to doggone fight him fist up. But I mean, like you said, there's just so much uncertainty, and for once, the uncertainty is going out the window. I believe with this squad, with this new regime,
Yeah.
There won't be any uncertainty, and it goes back to what I'm saying, and I'm going to continue to say it. Those guys are going over every inch of film right now to determine who they are going to be married to, and as you said, they got no ties. So
Yeah.
hey, they're going to be plucking people, man.
I mean, he was 32 or 35 from extra points. It's a PAT. It's an extra point, right? I mean, and he has never actually hit 100% of his extra points. And I get it. They've moved it farther back, so it's not as easy. But he was this year 19 to 24, so less than 80% of his field goals he made this year. And I just feel that's an issue. From 40 to 49, he was 7 to 9. From 50 plus, he was 3 for 5. For some reason, he's just money from 30 to 39. He was 7 for 7, 100%. But I need consistency there. And maybe it's because FedEx Field sucks and people don't like to kick there and it's well documented. I don't know. I'd love to see a split on how many of these misses were at FedEx versus on the road and vice versa. But we got to have a healthy kicking competition because I am not confident in Joey actually doing it. And they brought in other guys this past year at training camp. And I remember watching the other guys, but was it really a competition? I mean, he also had a horrible long snapper with Cheeseman. You know, they cut the cheese, and we'll see who they bring in next year.
They did cut the cheese. It stunk too, bro. It stunk.
I feel bad because you remember meeting his family on the sideline in Atlanta?
Yep.
They were so nice, man.
They were
so friendly, so going to come hang out at a tailgate, and then the kid's gone. So,
well, I have met plenty of family members of players on the sideline, and they're all gone that I've met. Basically, I mean, the nicest lady in the world was Eric Bieniemy's mom. I met her, and we chopped it up for a good minute. She's a very nice lady, but I'm sorry, Mr. Bieniemy, may not be with us. So
So are you the kiss of death? Is that what you're telling? Are you the Grim
wait
Reaper?
a minute. Wait a minute. See, now you're gonna revoke the field pass gods from from allowing me to get a field pass here and there. So don't say that, bro. I'm nothing like that. So
All right. I don't know, man. You said you met a bunch of them and they're not here anymore. So I just common denominator. That's all.
watch out, bro. We're gonna have to edit this out.
Hey, if they're listening, well, Riley needs a permanent field pass. I just want an inter. We both need one for the draft, but okay, I'm gonna leave that. All right. Way too many people to keep going, but last one to me that's important on fans' minds, Cam Curl. What are you doing?
I say that we are going to keep Cam. I feel as though the cat from Dallas is going to put Curl in a great situation, and Curl's a thumper. And at this point in the league, where they're I don't want to say that word, but when they're making guys softer, if you will, Cam still will lay the wood, and so I say they keep him.
Yeah, I'm hoping they keep him. I'm just concerned that they waited so long to do something about it and that they might not be able to afford to keep Cam. I mean, we have 90 million in cap space. So afford to keep Cam is relative. I'm just concerned that they may not want to pay what he thinks or what his dad thinks he's worth, right? Looking at his PFF grade over the past 4 years, 68.4 2020 when he got drafted, 69.4 in 21, 22, and 82.9. This year, his worst year ever, 66.6. And I'm sure a bunch of that is losing his teammate beside him through the year and a bunch of injuries in the secondary and the fact that we had a high school guy coaching the defensive backs and just a lot to it. But that's a huge drop off from last year. And
It is.
Is he expecting to still get paid on that 83 grade? Or realistically, if you add and average all of his numbers out, what's he looking to get paid on? And that's what worries me, that he might be too stubborn and we waited too long. Bye-bye, Cam.
Yeah, once again, they're not married to him, so I'm sure they'll throw it out there, and if he decides to catch it or not. What we don't really know is what his value is outside of the DMV.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. If we knew that teams were knocking down the door to get him at XYZ price, then we'd have something to look at. But I don't know outside of the DMV realistically what a team would offer him. Like you said, he didn't have a really good year this year, but you know as well as I do that the job of your agent is to be your mouthpiece, and they can talk a lot better than these players can, and some team just may pick him up for the amount that he's actually looking for.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to potentially get into a bidding war to try and keep him. And I'm looking here at the top 100 defensive players, and I'm not seeing Cam anywhere on this list. So it'll be interesting to see what they value him at. And part of me is concerned because you've got Martin Mayhew advising you because he looked at all the tape. I'm just hoping that Lance Newmark and Adam Peters, the new guys coming in, look at this with a fresh set of eyes and try and evaluate what best fits the coaching system that we have in place. Because Mayhew and Hurney, they did not draft well. They did not bring in good free agents. And also part of that's Ron. But they don't know the system. So they're grading basically without having the answer key because the coaches weren't set in place. The OCs weren't set in place, right? So what you're grading them on? What if they were receiving good grades in system X? Now it's system Y and their talents don't translate. Just like William Jackson III coming here. So
yeah,
there's a way to obviously do that. And I have no idea what the hell that's going to be. But fans get attached to players too much, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is I guarantee you that they're having a huge powwow as far as, all right, guys, you went to the Senior Bowl, you saw these guys playing. Give me your thoughts. Let me bombard us with the players that you think will fit well with us. And I honestly believe that they're having a huge powwow, and they're gonna say, "You thought that guy was gonna? No, next." Seriously, that's what I believe. I honestly I can see them saying, "Wait a minute, who this? No, this guy. Look at him. Look how he's doing this. Nope, he's not doing what we want him to do in this system. So no, he doesn't translate. Next, okay, possibly we'll look at it. That's what I see. Versus, I think that last year it was a situation where they picked him and they said, okay, sure thing. There was nothing to bounce back, if you
Yeah, no
will.
checks and balances.
Yeah. Well, now it looks as if you've got at least three people before your so-called pick that you pick is in. You've got three heads to go past to say, no, I don't like it. You know what I mean? I honestly feel
Yeah.
that way, that there's, like you said, checks and balances. There are going to be a lot of scrutiny with these young guys because these guys, they came here for a reason, not just to take a job. See, before, people came to Washington because it was a job. These guys
Well, they
came
get
here to
paid.
win. Yeah, and that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. They came here to get paid. These guys are coming here to throw up the dub, bro. To throw up the dub and win. And they aren't selling. Now, what I've been telling people is slow down a little bit. You know, it's a first year scheme. We may take our bumps and bruises this first year, but we will be able to see what the future looks like with those pieces that they're building. I mean, that's the captain's realistic view of things. I'm not saying Super Bowl this year, but what I am saying is you're going to see a maturation of what we saw from the Detroits, from Frisco when they were building, from Kansas City when they were building. And remember, all these teams weren't always good. They weren't, but they had
Yeah.
a baseline and they built on that baseline and they got better each year. And that's what I see us having, that baseline that's needed to bring in better talent each and every year until we do get back to the Super Bowl and win it.
Yeah. I mean, Dan Campbell took over the Lions in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
But you were talking about how he reminds you of Quinn at that point. So
Mm-hmm.
when Campbell took over in 2021, the Lions went 3-13. Okay, obviously not good. 2022, 9-8, second in the NFC North. 2023, 12-5, first in the North. So that's 3 years. Now, granted, they made a trade for a good quarterback, but they made some moves. You know, they had a guy over there, and one of those guys is over here now with Newmark. So who's to say that in 3 years we can't do the same thing if we make the right moves and have the right people on the staff to teach these kids? And I really don't think we had that prior. I don't think that we had a good defensive backs coach on the staff that could really bring the talent out in Emmanuel Forbes. I also don't think we should have picked him number one, but that's beside the point. He's a sunk asset now, and we need to get what we can out of him. And I'm hoping that these new guys they brought in, Tom Donatel, can actually do something. I mean, he's our new DBs coach. And if Quinn believes in him and if Peters believes in him, then you know what? I believe in him too. And let's let these guys get to work. Let's get these players coached up, and we'll see what happens this season.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better, bro. Oh, and I hear that music playing, which lets me know that this episode, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, is coming to an end. And I'm going to use a line from JP Finley. If you listen to JP from 1067 The Fan, thanks for riding with us. Ted owes you a beer.
I don't know about that one, man. I
We'll
don't got
split
that
one.
JP money.
We'll split one amongst one of our listeners, and so we'll split the tab. But thank you guys for listening. We really do appreciate it, and I hope that you got something out of this show, because as always, I love working with Ted, and I love the fact that we're able to bounce things off each other objectively, and we care about you guys as well. You listening, you subscribing, you liking, all that good stuff. Well, I always tell you guys, and it's trademarked, you rep it hard or you don't rep it at all. Rally Captain, Tailgate Ted, until next week, we're out of here.